Hello everyone, Alexa Lavoie here for Rebel News, and today we are looking at nicotine pouches, product like Zyn, and why Canadians have such limited access to them. I'm speaking with Pascal Michel, Senior Science Engagement Manager for Rotman, Benson and Hedges, which is a subsidiary of PMI Science. In most countries, nicotine pouches are sold in convenience stores, supermarkets, and even online. But in Canada, they are treated almost like a controlled substance, kept behind pharmacy counters and sold one can at a time. Not because they are dangerous, but because Big Pharma's nicotine replacement industry doesn't want the competition. If Canadians are free to buy cigarettes, alcohol, cannabis, and even the accessories used to consume them, they should also be able to purchase tobacco-free nicotine pouches in reasonable quantities. Now, let's hear from Pascal Michel.
Yes, my name is Dr. Pascal Michel. I'm Senior Manager of Science Engagement and Mobilization at Rotman, Benson and Hedges, Canada, an affiliate of Philip Morris International.
So today I wanted to speak about nicotine pouches because what we are seeing in Canada, there is only one brand available, Zonic, and it's only available in pharmacy. I want you to explain to the viewer why nicotine pouches are important and what is the benefits of using it.
Yeah, thank you for the questions. The nicotine pouch is the latest innovation in a set of product that we understand now have a very different risk profile for the adults that needs or want to continue consuming nicotine. So very, very important in that area. And just to impress on on the people here, what I'm saying about the different risk profile, if a cigarette consumption is 100%, let's put a scale of this we're talking about 0.3, 0.5. We're talking about a risk that resemble very much a patch of nicotine that you use for smoking cessation or a gum of nicotine that you're using for smoking cessation. So in the tool set of things that you can consume your nicotine with, the nicotine pouch is one of the latest arrival there with a with a risk profile that is immensely different than the cigarette. Now it's access. So being a little bit new in the market and all of this, right now those nicotine pouch in Canada are available behind the counter at the pharmacy. So you have to go and present yourself and talk to a pharmacist to get the product. Of course, elsewhere in the world is quite different. But right now, not only the product is not very well known, and yet in terms of accessibility, it's a little bit more tricky for a user to get the product.
So you will expect that if it's helping to stop smoking and that it is beneficial, the government will want to expand it to the grocery store, to the convenience store, and also to diversify the product to other brands than just one. Why we are not seeing this at this moment?
So the government is taking a very, maybe excessive, some would say, a prudent approach to innovation. And of course, on one hand, we need to make sure that those products do not end up in the hands of young people. We make sure that those products are well manufactured and safe, and so on and so forth. So there's actually some logic in the fact that, well, let's pay attention that those products are actually ending up at the right place with the right user. On the other hand, we know from looking at other countries that we are very late at the gate in adopting those products. And really, for those adults that wish or continue for some reason of consuming nicotine, we're very, very late in claiming the fact that they are very useful for doing so. So we have again, a panel of tools to do that. We can use a heat no burn device, we can use a vape, we can use a nicotine pouch. But in the all of those aspects, Canada for some reason been very, very reluctant to really even speak about the risk differentiation that we have in those products, the necessity to speak about it to the public. And for those, that it can be a matter of actually saving the lives of those that continue smoking. That, and so it is a really a pressure point, I think, in Canada in the way forward to try to do way more in terms of like informations, awareness, accessibilities, and for all of that set of those products, and including particularly the pouch.
You say that for some reason, the government is slow to agree and to permit more brand and to expand it. Do you know what is blocking the process?
Well, I mean, you're talking to a scientific person there today, right? And for some reason, what things that is breaking my heart right now is that there's a bit of a battle of having the right information for you today to get the right information in your hands. It's difficult. I'll give you just an example. You take a survey of the knowledge of nicotine among physicians, for example, things that you'd say that should be an absolute no-brainer. Physicians should know exactly what is going on there. And we realize with a recent survey that is done in the US that even that class of healthcare providers still have a high level of misconceptions and even like dangerous information sometimes on the product. And so we have to find a way to provide right, rigorous, balanced information to the hands of Canadians that they can take that into consideration when they make choice for themselves. And battling misinformation, for example, should be top of the radar at the government of Canada, because basically it's a bit like, all right, if you don't do this, you're harming the people, like you're really delaying something. And so misinformation is one of the tough part that is happening in Canada for dealing this. I can speak about as well. Canada is a very tricky marketplace. Not only we're slow in adopting those process, but we have a high level of illicit trade of tobacco, but also those new smoke-free products are ended up to be in the hands of bad actors. And so if we do not contain that those channels, like, I mean, even through regulations, awareness, science, and all of this, you do not have the traction again to give the right product in the hands of the right person. Canada has a lot of big bites to take, to both modernize the regulations, go and embrace very much the principle by which we should be reducing risk and speak to the Canadians about those products, and of course battling those channels that are rising across Canada. It is a complex environment, and we've got to do way more in those spheres.
If you can, I would love you to explain the impact of nicotine pouch in Sweden.
Yes. So I've brought a lot of my colleagues, physicians, pharmacists, dentists, and others to Sweden because I think it's very interesting to see what is happening there. So from a cultural perspective, Sweden is very interesting, not very much different than Canada, a little cold, you've got, and in terms of tobacco control policy, quite similar in some core way. Let's not smoke in public, let's not smoke inside a hospital, let's not smoke inside a restaurants, and all of those control measures that Canada's adopted. Sweden has been there. What Sweden has done, and it's make a whole array of difference, and then they say, well, if we want to go even further, we're going to have to embrace the principle of reduced risk and embrace the principle of adopting the product that for those adults that continue using nicotine. And so it is completely societally adopted. You walk the street in Stockholm and you see the availability of these products. There's no barriers for someone accessing a nicotine pouch, for example. And so that element of policy in itself bring Sweden in a complete different place in terms of health outcome. And because that's what matters at the end. We can talk about, oh, I don't like this, I feel about it. At the end, does it hurt the population? And one of the index that we're looking at the end is like, Cancer rate in Sweden is a fraction of what we see in Canada for a very similar kind of a landscape in terms of population, in terms of policy and everything. And a lot of that has to do with transitioning to products that we know have a very different risk profile. So I think it's a bit of an inspiration, both from a health policy perspective. Public health officials there are tough. They're going to say, well, we don't want people to smoke, but they are also embracing the principle of reduced risk for those products. And the society as well taking a stance that it's all right. We've been there, and for hundreds of years for them, they went from smoking to put in a little pockets of tobacco pocket to now using the nicotine pouch. So for them, they have a longer kind of a history with the product. So to deflate a little bit of the society angst around that, and they are in a complete different place. It is definitively a place to be inspired by.
I know that the nicotine pouch, you're using the fact that it help to stop smoking, but there is also other benefit to use it for someone who is not smoking.
Again, I'll give you the scientific answers first. So, as a regulatory product, the way it is done in Canada, and it's totally fine. And as a first step, this is what we've done. It's regulated as a nicotine replacement therapy. So, really, you should use this. Really, you're a smoker. You realize this is not good for me. You want to go elsewhere. You think that the pouch may help you to move out, and it does. And you use this, and health professionals and medical professions understand that yes, nicotine is addictive, but yet in the big picture, you are going in a completely different place in terms of your risk profile. So it is marketed right now as a nicotine replacement therapy. The molecule of nicotine, though, just let's speak a minute about this, is a very old molecule. Everyone knows this is. Sometimes I say, let's deflate the conversation here. It's a boring molecule. It's just like, hey, we know what it is. For thousands of years, we know that the molecule has been used in religious setup and in places by which people want to either ignite their connection with bigger pictures or calm themselves down. The molecule itself, from a physiological perspective, it's both an upper, it brings your brain a little bit more alert, and it also kind of bring as well some other cardiovascular aspect, that your heart beats a little better and stuff. So it has a whole plethora of effects that sometimes people feel pretty good about it. As a society, as a company, we're not speaking about this because this is not where we are as to putting the product in the hands of the consumer right now. But as a molecule in itself, it doesn't take much to look at really what it is and how we understand the molecule on the body. We found nicotine in potato, by the way. We found nicotine in a lot of other plants. So it's not, let's deflate the fact that this is a new molecule. We don't know much about it, that this is complex and stuff. We know what it is, and we know that for some people, they feel good about the molecule. But then how we make this happen in Canada right now, I think the first step is right. Is that let's try to have those smokers move away from smoking. I think it's a fair first good step.
And do you have any faith to see maybe Health Canada to move forwards and approve and also diversify where we can actually buy it?
So I would not speak on behalf of Health Canada. I know that they have a rigorous science background. I know that they are very attentive to this. The Canada strategy on tobacco does include, the concept of reducing the risk. Do they play that big enough to my appetite? No, but it is there, So, the foundation of our regulatory body is right for them to contemplate other product and see the big picture. Now, can we accelerate that conversation? Can we accelerate societal adoption? Can we accelerate the awareness at the political level? And so that regulatory body, such as Health Canada, can do their proper job, which is looking at the science and looking at the facts and then stating on this. the evidence, the data points of stuff is pretty solid across the world. If it does happen in Sweden, the molecule is not different in Canada by coming in Canada, right? The molecule is not different in Japan than it is there. So I'm quite confident overall that if we let the regulatory bodies do their scientific work and state on the evidence, they will land with this careful things. All right, we know that this molecule is addictive, but we also know that this can be extremely useful for the smokers that wants to continue. And let's bring those new products onto the market with the careful framework and warnings and things that needs to be done. So cautiously optimistic on the foundation of it, but we need to do way more to let those regulatory bodies do their work.
In most countries, nicotine pouches are sold in convenience stores, supermarkets, even online. But in Canada, they are treated almost like a controlled substance, kept behind pharmacy counter and sold one can at a time. At Ruben News, we believe we should have the right to choose what we want to buy as an alternative of cigarettes. If you do agree, go and sign our petition at freethenicotine.com.